Hi, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm Jeremy Adler. I'm the Interim Director of the Susan B. Meister Child Health Evaluation and Research Center in the Department of Pediatrics. I'm really delighted to welcome everyone here to the lecture today. This is the 17th in this annual series of Meister Lectures on child health policy. I'd like to start by extending a very special welcome to our keynote speaker, Anthony White, and the director of the Detroit Youth Choir, and our four panelists, Dr. Kate Fitzpatrick-Harnish, Dr. Karl Grosh, Meredith, Irvine, and Dr. Victoria Shaw, who I will introduce in a moment. But before turning over the program to our speakers, I'd like to recognize an individual who has been instrumental in the development and the evolution of this lecture series. And I'd also like to announce the recipient of the Best Paper Award in Child Health Policy. First, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Susan Meister for her vision in supporting this lecture series for the Cheer Center. This lecture event is named in honor of Dr. Meister, an accomplished child health researcher in herself, and she recognized the value of interdisciplinary Center for Child Health Services Research and Policy in Michigan. For the past 19 years, she has provided crucial support and partnership in helping develop our center. Her inspiring commitment to multidisciplinary research is what launched this very special event. Our center sponsors this lecture series each year, aiming to engage interdisciplinary audiences in a conversation about pressing issues that call for an interdisciplinary response. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Dr. Meister and her tremendously valuable role. Thank you, Dr. Meister. And now I'm pleased to announce the recipient of our Best Paper Award in Child Health Policy. The Susan B. Meister Award for the Best Paper in Child Health Policy recognizes an outstanding scientific paper in child health policy that was published in the past year. Submissions must be made by a current University of Michigan graduate student or postdoctoral fellow who has published a significant paper within this past year. The recipient of the Susan B. Meister Award for Best Paper in Child Health Policy for 2025 is Jessica Bezic. Why don't you come on up, please? Ms. Bezic is a fourth-year PhD student in clinical science program at the University of Michigan. She previously studied neuroscience in undergraduate at Vassar College and worked at the National Institute of Mental Health and a postbac research assistant. Her paper, Functional Brain Network Organization and Multi-Domain Resilience to Neighborhood Disadvantage in Youth, bridges neuroscience with resilience theory to explore novel associations between the brain and adolescent resilience in the face of neighborhood disadvantage. Growing up in neighborhoods with high levels of poverty is associated with exposure to many adversities, from poor schools, community violence, to substance abuse. However, many youth do go on to show resilience despite neighborhood disadvantages. In her study, they explored the persistence of positive functioning, such as social competency, academic achievement, as well as the absence of negative functioning like psychopathology in over 700 adolescents recruited from neighborhoods with above average poverty levels. They examined associations between resilience and adolescent functional brain network organization. Their study offers new insights into the ways in which early experiences have biological impact and identifies potential mechanisms supporting resilience that may help inform new efforts to boost protective factors in the face of early life adversity. Through this work, they hope to inform policy advances that promote resilience-building interventions for wider communities of youth facing poverties. So congratulations, Jessica Bezic. You come up and accept your award, please. Excuse me. All right, now I'd like to introduce Matthew VanBesien, who's going to introduce our keynote speaker. Matthew is the VanBesien. Matthew is the president of the University Music Society at the University of Michigan. Prior to that, he served as the managing director of the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, the executive director of the Houston Symphony, and served as executive director and then president of the New York Philharmonic. He has a history of innovation in music education. He led the creation of the New York Philharmonic's Global Academy Initiative, which offers educational partnerships with many institutions and US-based cultural institutions, both in the US and abroad, to train talented pre-professionals. In his capacity as the UMS president, he and his team organizes 60 to 75 or more music, theater, and dance performances and over 100 free and low-cost learning and engagement programs each season. So I'd like to invite up Matthew to join us, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adler. Thanks to everyone here today. Thanks to Cheer. Thanks to Dr. Adler, Dr. Meister, everyone here for the invitation to say a few words to you today. I'm Matthew VanBesien. I have the great pleasure and really privilege to serve as the president of the University Musical Society, this incredible unicorn of an organization here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, 146 years old, and we have the incredible opportunity to partner with the University of Michigan and surrounding communities here in Southeast Michigan to bring so many incredible artists and ensembles to our region to perform, but also to really have impact here in our communities. So I'm thrilled to be here with you today and just say a few words about the theme of today's event, and then to have the great privilege of introducing our keynote speaker, Anthony White, today. This theme today, music and child health, and I've sort of reduced it to that, but and really all the rich interdisciplinary goals and aspirations therein is one that's incredibly important to me professionally, but it's also important to me personally as well. My own background was, as a young person, was completely and utterly transformed by the introduction of music and playing an instrument in ways that I really can't even fully articulate for you. I honestly don't know what might have happened to me in my life without that transformative sort of moment and opportunity. And as we think about in my organization, in our organization at UMS, how we think about this topic, we of course think about the arts writ large, music specifically, but the arts writ large and its impacts physically on young people, intellectually, and of course, maybe most importantly right now, their emotional well-being and development. UMS, we really value audiences of all ages, and we really try to live to that standard each and every day. We really think about people throughout the entirety of their life cycle, and people across all different backgrounds and throughout our region. We feature programs for audiences of all ages, one's for K through 12 students and for young people, but also for faculty, students, staff here at the University of Michigan, and people across the region. We believe that the performing arts should be really is a vital, crucial part of nurturing every young mind. The arts help build essential skills like critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity, familiarity, and respect for diverse cultures. The arts create opportunities for students to practice interpersonal skills and develop those and help build a healthy social and emotional life. I think we all know that the arts inspire curiosity, they challenge beliefs, they help envision new possibilities, and they have, in our history, promoted action for positive change. Through our K through 12 program specifically, we invite students and educators to experience how the performing arts can really be catalytic for meaningful conversations, offer new lenses for understanding, and create space to develop something I think we all need more of in this world, which is empathy. We live in interesting times, and Before 2025, we are already seeing declining public funding and decreased resources for arts education programs nationally. We have not addressed that as a country, and we continue to not address it. And I think all of us sitting here today should be sober about the fact that it's probably and most assuredly likely to get worse before it gets better. I'm gone off script now already. But I think all of us as citizens, and certainly all of us, again, who have this privilege to work in the arts, have to remain steadfast in our commitment to offering arts experiences in every way that we can, with conviction, those that are engaging, thought-provoking, and accessible to everyone. Our distinguished speaker today, and as we think about his address today, this wonderful panel, we're thinking beyond today's event, through the fall and through the 25-26 academic year and UMS season, where our hope is to actually create more moments like this, to really lean into this space of the cultural arts. I hope that UMS can really be a conduit in this space and a partner and bring some really potent and exciting and influential thinkers to the table to continue this conversation that the arts so much want to be a part of more and more. So watch this space. I also want to take a moment to also echo Dr. Adler's thanks of Dr. Susan Meister, along with her husband Paul, for their generous support, not only of this important program and this lecture, but for their support of and belief in the University of Michigan writ large. I've known them only for a few short months. They very kindly hosted Berlin Philharmonic musicians in their box at a football game, which is a wonderful way to sort of initiate a friendship. But it's very, very clear to me that they hold a very enlightened sense of philanthropy and support across healthcare, across research, and now cultural areas of our institution. So, our distinguished speaker today, Anthony White. I'm really honored to introduce you, sir. Anthony White is the artistic director of the Detroit Youth Concert Choir and Performing Arts Company, and you're about to have a wonderful experience a little bit later this afternoon with them. Since 2001, Mr. White has directed more than 3,000 youth from the Metro Detroit area. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Music from Marygrove College. He is also the founder of Soulful Expression Ensemble, where he combined his talents of vocal music, music production, songwriting, music composition, and theater performance. He's a quintuple threat, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. White and Detroit Youth Choir have been featured performers locally, nationally, internationally. They performed on stages in the United States, Canada, and Africa. In 2024, Mr. White and the DYC were featured in a 6-episode series on Disney Plus entitled Choir, in which the dedication and phenomenal work of DYC, Mr. White, and their staff is highlighted. Also at the international level, Mr. White and DYC have competed and earned second place in season 14 of America's Got Talent. I think we all watched that incredible seminal moment for this great program and this great ensemble. They were also invited back to compete in season 2 of America's Got Talent, and they've continued to, just electrify audiences near and far. I would say, as somebody who has the chance to work in the arts, that Anthony White is a pillar, a beacon for the arts here in Southeast Michigan, and his commitment to music education extends well beyond his work with the DYC. I also love that he acknowledges, as I think all of us need to do who have the privilege to work in this space, the importance of family and support in that visionary work. So please welcome, to give this keynote lecture, Mr. Anthony White, to give the 2025 Meister Lecture in Child Health Policy.
How's everybody doing? Come on, how's everybody doing? Come on now. How's the choir doing up there? Y'all good? Yeah. All right. I'd like to thank everybody that's sitting there. I don't want to go name for name, but Thank you for bringing me. This is truly an honor. My wife is over there, and my manager, my wife NICUMT, my manager, right there, and of course 15 of the DYC students from our primetime choir, and also there's an alumnus from DYC in here. Shelby, wherever she is. Okay, there she go. Okay, so thank you, and it's just so breathtaking and refreshing to be here. I rarely get a chance to speak anywhere because we're always rehearsing or doing something in the community. But when I say DYC, I want you guys to say, Can y'all do that for me? So look, I'm gonna go DYC, y'all gonna go. Y'all gonna do it like that. I need y'all to do it like that though. DYC. No, come on, y'all. Y'all gotta give it to me, come on. Pretend like the football team of U of M is playing. Okay, here we go, DYC. There we go, okay. That was an icebreaker, all right. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. Of course, I'm the artistic director for the Detroit Youth Choir. I've been doing this for a little over 26 years. So my whole 20s through now is gone. It's like dedicated to the young people, okay? And I came from inner city Detroit. I went to school at high school, St. Martin de Porres, but my middle school and early education was David Ellis Academy, which was Greater Grace Temple, the big church in Detroit. I went there from K through 8, then high school, from high school to Marygrove College, where I earned, of course, my degree. And that's where I met the former director for the Detroit, it was called Detroit Children's Choir. So when I met him in Marygrove, he took me in, he showed me the ropes. He later took his family, moved to a different state, and he left me the responsibility of working with these great young people at the age of 20. Now, did I know how to run a nonprofit? No. Did I have the paperwork? Nah. Did he have the paperwork? Nope. So what I did was, as a 20-year-old, a full-time student at Marygrove, I went out and I sought help, like from the neighborhood service organizations and things like that. I found a lady who knew how to do 501c3 work. She did the 501c3. I had to raise the money, right? So I took over the choir, had a small concert. That money went to paying for a 501c3. So when I obtained that, it was like history after that. So the kids always wonder why I'm up and down in my attitudes, because I built this thing almost from the ground up. It's a lot of work doing the Detroit Youth Choir. And in my years of working with the choir, you encounter different attitudes, different ways of looking at the world with working with different young people. They all come with their own issues, right? But what you have to do as a director is kind of use those issues and that talent, put it together and form what you guys see on TV, which is the America's Got Talent stuff and the Disney, all of that came after the fact. So I always give it up to my youth, the youth that I work with. I use them as tools to get us to the next step. Because they all have great imagination. They're like, Mr. White, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we do it that way? And that's what DYC is really good at. Everybody like, well, you're just a normal choir. No, we're not a normal choir. A normal choir doesn't travel to Africa and then go to LA and Vegas and perform. Like what choir does that, right? The whole AGT thing, let's get on that. Let's start here, okay? We're going to start with the America's Got Talent experience. Man, it seems like a long time ago, but that experience literally made our young people grow up. They went over there 10 years old, but when they came back, they were grown-up 10-year-olds. You know, they were older in their thinking and in their movement, their professionalism. Because when you see them perform, that's the legacy kind of merging into what their talent is. So our staff, our great staff we have back in Detroit at rehearsal, like in about an hour or so, what we've learned to do is don't treat these young people like they don't know anything, like they're dumb or stuff like that. We treat them as intellectual individuals. And everything you guys see, even when they perform, they already know everything. Everything is already taught. Everything is programmed. And that only comes with rehearsing multiple hours. I mean, on Saturdays, we rehearse 5 hours. And y'all probably like, okay, when is he going to get to the mental health stuff? Okay, we're going to get to that. But I just want to let you guys know the landscape of what DYC really is. Back to America's Got Talent. So what people didn't know is that we took a bunch of young people who never been to LA, who never actually traveled. We put them in an environment of Terry Crews and Gabrielle Union and Simon Cowell and all these like famous people. And to be honest, it was like a dream because, you know, when we got on that stage, everybody looked fake. Like it looked like we were looking at the TV, looking at Simon. Everybody knows Simon as being the hard guy, right? But he has a soft spot for us, you know, and Terry Crews also has a soft spot. But we took these young people all the way across the country to LA, put them in that environment, actually taught them things on the spot in front of mega producers. And the producers were loving them because they're like, wow, like where these kids come from? Like, you know, what's going on? What did you do? How did you get them like that? And then when they walked through the room with the blazer on, with the bow tie and the Argyle socks, it gave them a notion of these kids are professionals. So when you see them in their gold, that's like a great representation of who they are. You know, they are golden. They're the golden children. I'm giving y'all a shout out. Okay. All right. So we put them in an environment where they never experienced before. We put them on stage in front of millions of people, but nobody asked them how they felt, how they were doing. Are you okay? Nobody actually asked me, but whatever. It's all good. The experience for me was great, but for the young people, you know, they were the ones on stage. They were the ones working. And I mean, I taught the music and stuff, but our team taught everything, but they were the ones on the spotlight. When they looked at me as, okay, this is the guy that brought them out, that put them on this platform. But in reality, these young people worked months to actually pass that first audition, right? And after that first audition, it was like golden buzzer. What is a golden buzzer? I didn't know. But now I know, of course. But when they hit the golden buzzer, y'all, that was the point where their lives changed and my life changed forever. And I want to hit one of my bullet points, the impact of music and how it affects their health. Okay, so we can take this through COVID. So this is after AGT. So AGT happened, then we shut down for COVID, okay? When we shut down for COVID, we literally didn't shut down. We kind of kept going because you have to keep these young people active. If you don't keep them active, they'll kind of dwindle away. So we found things to keep them active. We actually did our video Glory. If you haven't seen us do Glory, please YouTube it at your earliest convenience. But we did all of that through COVID, and it was actually a remedy to the loneliness and the depression that COVID brought upon everybody. And I just want to thank my team for actually coming up with things to do, during COVID, because everybody grew their hair out. People was depressed. It was boring, but DYC, we kept going. I just thought it was very good for their mental state. It was very good for their personalities to actually still grow during that hard time in our history. I was posed the question, how does DYC advocate for young people through music? Well, let me tell you, we've performed so many times. I mean, we have so many performances, but our most notable time that we did advocate for our youth, I'm talking about youth across the world, is when we did those Glories. And also the Sweet Child of Mine. We redid Sweet Child of Mine, which was amazing. We did those because it really showed that we cared about, about the social change in America. Because what happened during COVID, the George Floyd situation, Sweet Child of Mine was based on the school shootings. So when we did those songs, it was like our young people speaking to the youth, which was amazing. But I just think that our young people really benefited from those musical and mental exchanges. I wish you guys can actually talk to them individual on how they feel about, how is your time in DYC? Because it is an up and down thing. Because remember, the Detroit Youth Choir, we're not only a youth organization, they're also artists, right? They're musical artists. They have albums out. They have a show on Disney. But I hear no complaints, even though they do go through their things. And a lot of young people, remember, a lot of young people these days have a lot of home situations going on where they bring some of that into rehearsal. And that right there, when they bring their home problems into rehearsals, how we deal with that is through really partnering with different mental health organizations. I know you guys probably heard of DWIN. DWIN is an organization that specializes in the mental health of young people. So we did partner with DWIN, and DWIN actually did some great work. They interviewed some young people. They came in, they did workshops. Those type of things are vital. It's not all about singing. When people hear of DYC, they're like, oh, they're just a choir. Yeah, but we also have a college readiness program. We also do at least one trip a year to give them exposure around the world. Africa was like crazy, but Africa was a good experience for our young people. And also putting our young people in situations where they are performing in front of very important people, like today. Well, that you're gonna see later. But putting them in front of college, even them being here at U of M, is a big deal. Some of them have college aspirations, and they're like, oh, the music department head is over there. I can talk to this person. Those things help them grow, help them become independent. Let me see. Yeah, let me go to partnerships. Partnerships with the leading, one of the leading mental health organizations, DWIN. When that did happen, it created, how can I say it? It created a hub. And when our DYC parents saw that we cared about their mental health, it was like an overwhelming, like everybody just got better like all of a sudden, because most organizations, it's like, okay, you come in, do the stuff, and then you go home. But we literally added the mental health piece, which a lot of people don't know that we did, but we put it out there. They did videos. We did a lot of great things. Our choir is a choir that starts, some of them started at 6 years old. Now imagine being 6 years old and you're asked to perform in front of like 2,000 people. That is like mind blowing. And like I said, how we deal with that is through partnerships and through mental health collaborations. Recently, we had a young lady in our choir. I'm not going to name names. Y'all not going to get me on camera naming names. But we had a young lady in our choir who was going through something, and the way she dealt with it was kind of not the right way. You know, she kind of lashed out at rehearsals with a lot of pouting and a lot of just disruption in the choir. When things like that arise with our organization, we connect with, we have a connection with a lady named Dr. Sabrina. Dr. Sabrina comes in, and she's if anybody heard of Dr. Sabrina, she's on Fox 2 like every Monday, Mental Health Mondays. So we formed a partnership with Dr. Sabrina, and she actually came in and kind of diagnosed the problem. And, we handled the situation. The young lady is no longer with our organization, but taking those vital steps, makes our young people, or gives our young people that extra power and that extra oomph to keep going with the organization. And as I close or wrap up, I just want to give, again, our amazing young people, give those young people a hand, because they are, yes, they are the future. They are the future, and we do our best as an organization to kind of keep it going. Now, we have seniors up there. How many seniors we got? Okay, we got a couple of seniors, okay? All right. Now, I wish there was a segment where I can bring them down and we can talk to them, but it's all on me. But there's always opportunity, everybody, opportunity to grow. Policies is policies. But I'm not a policymaker. I'm not a thinker on that level, but I believe that every nonprofit organization should have a mental health wing just for our young people. Not just, okay, here's a choir. No, but we're a choir that helps young people, that develops young people. So that's the only thing that I can say if I was to walk in, to go to Washington and get on the Congress floor and everything. I would just advocate that we should add a mental health portion to every youth organization in the world, actually. But it's just so much that I can talk about. I can be here for an hour. Y'all want to hear me talk for an hour? No. Okay. But I just want to say thank you just to be in this format and to actually sit on the panel. Any questions you guys have, I'm here to answer. Anything that you want to ask me, I'm here. Thank you.
I want to. Well, we're going to invite the panel up in a moment, but first I just wanted to thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for joining us and for speaking with us and for inviting your choir to perform later.
sure.
It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
While you're up here, before we call up the rest of the panel, I wanted to thank you. And before we move to our panel discussion, I wanted to give you this award, which is here somewhere. It's okay. That's okay. But I wanted to give you this award from the Susan B. Meister Child Health Evaluation and Research Center, and thank you for everything you do for the kids and for joining us. And we really believe that music education and the arts are critically important for kids.
For sure.
So I think we're going to have a picture. This is for you.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much for having us. I'll call it. So you can, I guess, have a seat over here, please.
Sit anywhere.
Yeah, thank you. So now we'd like to move on to our panel discussion, and I'd like to call up the panelists, and I'm going to introduce each one of them so you have some background. So first, I'd like to introduce Dr. Kate Fitzpatrick-Harnish, who serves as Associate Professor of Music Education and is the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Academic Affairs at the University of Michigan's School of Music, Theater, and Dance. Excuse me. Before her career, she directed instrumental music program at Northland High School, a Title I school in the Columbus City School District in Columbus, Ohio. Excuse me. She earned her BME and MA degrees from The Ohio State University and then her PhD in music education from Northwestern University. Dr. Fitzpatrick-Harnish's research focuses on the experience of historically marginalized populations in music education, particularly in under-resourced urban settings. Her work explores the intersections of socioeconomic status, music participation, and academic achievement. An advocate for the arts, for arts equity, Dr. Fitzpatrick-Harnish served on various editorial boards, held numerous leadership positions, including the past national chair of the Social Sciences Special Research Interest Group for the National Association of Music Education. She continues to serve as conductor, adjudicator, and clinician in music programs across the state and country. She's published extensively and received many awards at every level of her career. I want to welcome Dr. Fitzpatrick-Harnish. Excuse me. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Karl Grosh, who received his bachelor's and master's degrees in engineering sciences from Pennsylvania State University and his PhD in mechanical engineering from Stanford University. He then was a research scientist in Naval Research Lab in Washington, D.C. For the past 30 years, he's been a faculty member here at the University of Michigan, where he's now professor of mechanical engineering and biomedical engineering, and has served twice as associate chair of mechanical engineering. His current research interests include cochlear mechanics, the design and fabrication of electroacoustic transducers, hearing prostheses, and active metamaterials. I want to know what that is. He co-founded the piezo MEMS transducer company, Vesper Technology. So thank you, Dr. Grosh, for joining us. Next, I'd like to introduce Meredith Irvine, who has worked at C.S. Mott Children's Hospital, Michigan Medicine's Children's Hospital for over 11 years. She oversees the music therapy program and the team within Mott Hospital while providing clinical care. She is the studio manager for Sophie's Place, a dedicated music therapy clinical space within CS Mott. She also mentors music therapy students, interns, and fellows. She works as the project manager for the Forever Young Foundation, advocating nationally for music therapy. She's a frequent speaker on the subject and was recently awarded the 2025 Great Lakes Region Music Therapy Advocacy Award. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And Dr. Victoria Shaw, I'd like to introduce as well, who earned her PhD from the Marsal School of Education at University of Michigan, where her teaching and scholarship focused on how beginning teachers take up culturally responsive pedagogies. She designs, implements, and evaluates art-focused education approaches and programs with leaders, teachers, students, and arts partners at U of M and in Detroit. Her work is extensive, building arts collaborations at the school at Marygrove in Marygrove Learning Community. For those not familiar, this was a P20 partnership between the Marsal School of Education and the Detroit Public School Community District. She also works with U of M Museum of Arts and student-centered approaches to gallery education and leading and writing communication programs like learning, equity, and problem solving for the public good. Marsal's first of its kind undergraduate degree program, and there's much more, but time is limited. So, and of course, I'd also like to welcome Mr. Anthony White, who we're now all familiar with, to also join the panel as well. So thank you everybody for joining us. So I would like to open the floor for questions if anybody has any. There's some microphones that are circling around.
Thank you so much. Mr. White, you mentioned that many of these wonderful young singers are also interested in going to college. So my question for you is, number one, how do we make sure that that happens for them? And how do we make sure that the rest of them decide that they might want to explore that as well?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Our dream is to have all of our young people to go, to some college or university, but a lot of the things, how can I say it? It's all about partnerships. So by us even being here, we have a partnership with U of M now. By me sitting next to this young lady right here, So we have, when they get into our organization, they want to become music theater or some type of music person. So we like, well, hey, we got U of M, we have HBCUs. So what we do is we just go around and we make these partnerships. And I think that's so vital to our organization. And that's where our college readiness program comes in as well. They meet like once a month on a Saturday, and they talk about how to apply and how to get into these schools. So we have a 100% graduation rate. Now, we have some that go, we just had one recent young man that went into the Air Force, but he was going to college first and then he went into the Air Force. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
When I was in medical school, one of my mentors was Alvin Poussant, the psychiatrist, who said there are all kinds of studies on kids who have trouble, who are getting into trouble, who have illnesses. He said there's very little study for those of us that succeeded. My question to you, Mr. White, is what was your lifeline that at the age of 20 you had the chutzpah to take over this choir?
Well, look, I don't have gray hair today, but I do have gray hair. That's a part of actually working with DYC. But well, my relationship and my love with music, basically where my love of music came from, kind of everything with me. Because I'm an unknown. And like I said, when we came back from LA, they were looking like, who is this guy? So I had to let people know. My father wasn't a musician. My mother wasn't a singer or nothing. I had to actually learn to love music. And I was a bad kid growing up, but music saved my life. If it wasn't for music, I wouldn't even be here. Like I went to college, Marygrove, and I thought I was going to become a music producer like who's out here? I don't want to name a couple of people because they're in trouble right now. But, I thought I was going to be a big time producer. And then when I got into Marygrove, they kind of turned me into an opera singer. And then they was like, okay, you want to direct. Okay, we about to teach you how to direct. So I came from like being a bad kid, playing basketball, into loving music. And then watching other choirs, watching other young people in choirs kind of helped me as well. So, I had to learn how to love it, pretty much the art of music and everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and for all you're doing for the kids. I guess my question is probably for Dr. Shaw. So the students who get to be in your organization have just an incredibly wonderful opportunity. What about the kids who don't have that? All of the kids, so in Ann Arbor, we have community high school, we have Pioneer, amazing arts programs, but Dr. Shaw, what else can we be doing in Detroit for the kids who don't have this opportunity? And how can Marsal, the Marsal Family School of Education help? How can the School of Music, Theater, and Dance help? And what more can we do?
I think this is working, yes. Well, I think it's no coincidence that what we're hearing from Mr. White, what we heard from Mr. VanBesien, other folks, and I bet a lot of the students up here would say is, arts has really made a huge difference in their life. And there's all kinds of educational research, all the things that we're hearing about. It improves attendance, it improves engagement, self-confidence, mental health, physical health. All these things are supported by educational research. This isn't just a nice idea. This is demonstrated. And you're absolutely right that while the arts are a benefit to everyone in every school, every child can benefit from the arts, every human can, we know that funding for the arts is much more at risk in some districts than it is in others. You make a great example with Ann Arbor's really robust arts program at all levels, starting with kindergarten all the way through. And I think one of the most important things is advocating for that funding, for understanding that the arts are often seen as kind of this background, nice frill. Everybody, you were talking about, you came back after you on AGT and everybody wants to know like, oh, who are you now? Everybody likes a performer. Everybody wants to be up on stage and shake their hand, but do they want to support what it takes on the front end, the hours and hours that you're talking about that these students are dedicating their time to? This is an out-of-school program that not everybody can participate in for lots of reasons. And so it's just crucial that we all understand that in this world that is increasingly digitized, this world that is increasingly stratified, it's really important that we seek that funding for all students throughout within their school day so that everybody truly has access.
Can I piggyback on that? So the Detroit Youth Choir, we don't receive grant monies like everybody think we do. We actually have an endowment. So, but the endowment only comes around like once a year, right? So how do we survive? We do need to grab that. It's just hard to get grant monies with an organization like DYC. I don't know why. And actually, we're about to bring on a new grant writer. But it's just so hard. When they hear choir, they like, well, we know you sing. What else do you do? So they always looking for what else do you do? But the majority of the stuff that we do is singing, right? So that's why we have to create things like the college readiness thing and what else we have? We have the studio that the kids can come in and make their own music. We have that as well. So we have to create things, pretty much.
Let me add, because I think you're going to get in and try to recruit these students, Kate. I want to say we need more student artists in education as well. And I want to encourage all of you youth choir members to really think about education as a viable career for yourselves, because what you bring, what you've learned in the arts, that kind of education, that kind of dedication, the fact that you are such a team, you know how to work with other people, that is so needed in education, whether you're teaching music or any other subject. We want you, let's talk about coming to Marsal Family School of Education.
Could I add just one thing as well? You know, when we do research on the availability of arts programs, and that's performing arts programs, but specifically in music education, like in so many other areas, the biggest predictor of the availability of arts education in schools is socioeconomic status, right? And we have a lot of privatization of arts education, and that's wonderful, right? I mean, my own kids take private lessons, right? They have parents who can afford that. We have access. We have different, Ann Arbor is a very vibrant place for music education and the arts overall. But we need to look at, in our democratic society, the primary way that we ensure equity in terms of learning is within public schools. So the fact that socioeconomic status, and that is, I mean, we've got lots of studies of this, socioeconomic status in our schools being the biggest predictor of the availability of these programs means that students from certain zip codes get access to music education and the performing arts, and students in other zip codes don't. And that's more than just the presence of those programs. That's the presence of robust, well-funded, sequential programs in the arts with qualified teachers, right? Those are really essential things that we try to look at. And when I think about that, and I speak both as a researcher and as a former music teacher myself, it's this idea, this very elitist idea that some kids do deserve access to beauty and art and meaning and connection and creativity, and some kids don't. And that's really what's enacted in our school districts and within our policies right now. And so I think the primary way to address those inequities is really to look at equitable access to quality arts programs within public schools, and everything else is a bonus. But every kid should have access to that within their schools.
Director Wright, for your wonderful remarks, and thank you to everyone for being here today. We talk a lot within the Cheer Center about interdisciplinary research, and it would be really wonderful to hear a little bit more about how each of you sees the interaction or the intersection between music and health in your specific practice, research, or teaching environment. And so I think I might ask Dr. Grosh and Meredith Irvine to start, and then it would be wonderful to hear a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm humbled to be here. My research and my work in prosthetics is inspired by my collaboration with the medical school and the collaborations I've had there. And I think the dean asked me to come here as part to make a connection with the students and with all of you and make sure that we value this connection. So when I go to do my work, I'm often focused on devices and science and math because I'm an engineering guy. And in my interplay with physicians, like Dr. Emily Stucken, who's the director of the cochlear implant program, she said, Karl, every day someone asks me, can I get a completely implantable hearing aid or cochlear implant? And it gives a meaning, because if I sit in my office and I contemplate this, right, it may be a hammer and a nail when there's not needed. But then when someone comes and brings that reason to me, then it helps me get motivated and gives me energy, and that collaboration is ever so important. So that's just one example. And again, you know, I guess the other thing that I feel like is important is something that Kate mentioned is, you know, what makes a great engineer, right? What makes a great engineer is creativity. You may say, oh, it's the other stuff. What makes a great engineer is teamwork, right? And all these things are learned through the choir. They're learned through sports teams and things like FIRST Robotics, sure, but that's not always the most important thing. So these abilities can come together, and I think, and again, our commitment to the arts on North Campus, right? We're happy to be up there, which is where we have arts and music and engineering too, all sit in the same spot. So anyway,
Yeah, so thank you for this question. And, responding to Dr. Grosh, my work as a music therapist, I work alongside very esteemed colleagues, psychosocial colleagues, medical colleagues, and it's just such an honor and privilege to have a dynamic team. We are very integrated as music therapists into that interdisciplinary care team. So we work really hard and attend medical rounds where we have a voice at the table, where we share what we're working on through music therapy interventions, whether it's rehab goals, whether it's self-expression, whether it is normalizing an environment for children that is so not normal. And we've worked very hard to have that voice at the table, but we are very well respected by our colleagues too, and our perceptions of what we're noticing with the children. And but jumping off of that one example too, we are integrated into some research projects as well. So we're a part of a virtual study of music therapy virtual sessions for adolescent and young adult patients on anxiety, collaborating with Dr. O, I see you over there, on legacy interventions and access for our families when we do lose children. Music therapists are very involved in that very unfortunate side of care, but it's an extremely humbling and very powerful side of care. And we are also studying in our von Voigtlander's Women's Hospital access for care for antepartum patients. So birthing people who are bringing life into this world and what they are experiencing. But really reflecting on your question, I think the last thing that I will share is no matter the age of a child, they have a voice in their medical care. And I think that that is something that as a music therapist, my job is to advocate for that and make sure that we are listening to the child and their family. Mott and von Voigtlander, Michigan Medicine, we operate under patient and family-centered care. So really, it is my honor to bring that forward when appropriate, at times to say, well, let's really listen to what their needs are and what their holistic hope is for their care and their stay. And sometimes that comes out through a really great song that we're writing. Sometimes that comes out through just a simple discussion and taking a moment to listen. And that's something that's a huge honor of my work.
Yeah, I think just echoing some of the things that people are saying in the education world, I would say the biggest impact that the research shows and that the work that we do has demonstrated is around mental health and social and emotional kind of health. Talking about teamwork, but there's also a sense of belonging. There's a sense of developing compassion for other people. There's also empathy, motivation. All these kinds of things come from participation in the arts. And again, this isn't just a nice idea or something that we sort of anecdotally believe. This is something that the research demonstrates. And so, sort of hearing you talk about such a poignant way to put it, that no matter how young, every child has a voice in their care treatment plan. I think that's something that, especially working with high school students in the arts, we've really seen this is another mode that students can both process the things that they care about, discover the things that they care about, and then make those heard in a variety of ways, right? So using art or channeling art as a means to achieve social justice, to call out things that they find unfair, that they find stifling to their own development. Again, not just a nice idea, but that's something that the arts really does provide. And like you, it's such an honor to be able to be part of seeing that. It's really mostly putting some things in place and stepping back and letting the young people learn with the artists, like Mr. White and lots of other people out there who are doing this work and putting in so many hours and hours. That's also the behind the scenes. And just that role model that the students also have, and someone who deeply knows them, like you were describing the young woman before, that might have just gone unnoticed elsewhere, but there was a person who had been spending hours with her over the years and really advocating for her and getting her the resources she needed.
I'll just briefly say I'm just so humbled to hear of everyone's work and connections with health here. This really has made me think hard. In the work that I do, it's primarily about the availability and access to students from various socioeconomic status backgrounds. But our literature in music education focuses a lot on school connectedness, school belonging, a lot of extra musical outcomes. Bullying and victimization is an area that we've looked into in music education. And we found a lot of interesting, again, we call them extra musical benefits, but a lot of them that connect with health. You know, there's a lot of recent fMRI studies that are really interesting about musical study and learning. And, you know, a whole body of literature out there that I do not specialize in, but that I find really fascinating with regards to those direct health connections. But I will say, when you bring this up, I really primarily think as a teacher of faces that I see in my mind of students through the years. You know, when I was teaching high school, a student, I had several students who had cerebral palsy who were involved, and we had different adaptive devices to play different instruments. And thinking about how, you know, that music or arts classroom becomes what we call in one of the research studies that's really been referred to a lot in our field, a home away from home. And this student with cerebral palsy, actually her therapist ended up doing a lot of her physical therapy in my band room between rehearsals, because that was the space where she felt really comfortable, right? A student who had a brain tumor who marched in my marching band and who we had an adaptive device for. She went to the Sugar Bowl with us in New Orleans and traveled and was able to march and be a part of that. But what that did, unfortunately, that was a student we lost and in the middle of one of our seasons. I'm still in touch with her family, you know, 26 years later. But the impact of music and the arts on students who were navigating very serious health challenges, but also students who were navigating the private health challenges that they would, again, disclose to me or other arts teachers, as all teachers, right, navigate so much more than the subjects that they're teaching. So I think about those faces and the impact there. And I'm just so grateful to have worked with those. I mean, again, these are just amazing kids, right? And so we as teachers are so fortunate to work with them.
And testing 1, 2. I'm not gonna talk long about this because when you were talking about the student you were just talking about, we actually had an autistic young man that joined DYC, and he had a ukulele. What was his name, y'all? Victor. Okay. I know they back there like, he should talk about Victor. Victor was a young guy, came from the suburbs, like way out somewhere. And he was like, hey, I'm in DYC now. So he's playing this ukulele during rehearsal. And we're doing like movie themes. Wasn't that Sounds of Cinema? Yeah. So I was like, okay, let me find a place for Victor. So he played the ukulele on a few of the songs. What was the one? What'd you say? Somewhere Over the Rainbow, right? So, okay, so you got like 50 kids in the back of him. We have Victor out in front going, somewhere, but that did something to him, and it did something to the youth in our program. So by him doing that, and by myself taking him into the organization, that showed them how to be humble, I believe, you know, and it did something to them mentally. They're like, Mr. White, you take everybody on. I'm like, yeah, come on in. You want to join? But Victor is a testament and a testimony to how you know, a health, you know, thing can actually prosper with the arts.
So we've heard about So we've been hearing a lot about the importance of music education and arts for children, for development, for their well-being. I'm actually really curious about the music therapy, because we were hearing about inequities and availability of music education. Is music therapy widely available at children's hospitals? Like how widely available is that to families of kids who are in the hospital?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I would say the field of music therapy as a whole is actually relatively young because we just really got started right after World War II when war veterans were coming back and experiencing PTSD. And then musicians eventually became music therapists, really looked into mental health and working with these war veterans. I would say, fast forward, it's an exciting time for me personally to be a part of the career because I would say medical music therapy really took off within this last decade. Prior to that, a lot of our research was with patients with Alzheimer's or dementia. We also have a huge prominence in school districts working with children with autism or other mental health disorders. But medical music therapy, specifically, I would say within the last decade, we've been continuously growing nationally. Availability and access, great question. A lot of the times music therapy programs are philanthropically funded. So I think there's room to grow, of course, nationally in that. And there's only opportunities for us as music therapists to continue to integrate, to advocate, and to continue to, grow that. Specifically at Michigan Medicine, we have 6 music therapists that cover CSMA and von Voigtlander. I would say that's a larger team, which we are so thankful for. But of course, we would love more. But I would say we're very thankful for that. And then also with Sophie's Place, our dedicated music therapy clinical space, a lot of what Mr. White was just saying, we are able to create those magical moments for children, for the youth in the hospital. So we try to make that space as accessible as possible because some patients may not be able to come down to Sophie's Place. They might be in some sort of precaution or for whatever reason unavailable to come down. So we actually have Sophie's Place mobile carts. So we'll take those bedside that have the recording equipment and ability to try to take that to them, as well as some virtual programming. So I think in Michigan Medicine, we are doing well. Of course, we still have areas to grow. In 2024, between virtual programming and in-person programming, we saw about 8,000 children. So very proud of the team.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sincere, and I just wanted to kind of ask this question to the panel as a whole. Not you, White, because I already asked you a whole bunch of questions. But what I wanted to say, because you guys are obviously you guys are advocates for creativity, and y'all see the correlation between music and the significance that it has in early childhood development. I just wanted to ask, how do you guys seek to make connections with students in order to innovate the studies that you guys are doing? And then the second part, the part B of that question, is how do you guys steer them into a way of becoming better while still maintaining their individuality? Because creativity is subjective. That's what I wanted to ask.
Can I just say, first of all, what a beautiful question and what a beautiful mind you have. So I hope you're planning on doing amazing things in the future. We know we'll expect that of you. Really multi-layered question, but I like the last part of that, really thinking about creativity and also how the individuality, if I heard that right, of each student and how you make sure that that's a part of things. We really think hard about the different ways that people can be human through the arts, right? I mean, the arts have lots of benefits. That's why I was talking about extra musical benefits, but just music itself, it's a human phenomenon, right? Every single person is musical. Every single person is artistic. And I know when I tell people what I do, they often say well, I'm not a musician. And I always say, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Right? I mean, if you think you're not a musician, you probably listen to music maybe in the shower. You probably listen to music in your car ride. You probably have lots of thoughts about that. If you're a parent, you probably sing lullabies to your children. It really doesn't matter how well, right? We're all musical. That's a part of who we are. And so we have this beautiful history in the United States of, music education focusing on specific types of music. Right? Mostly we have these band, choir, and orchestra programs. We have general music with younger children that emphasizes movement and lots of different ways of experiencing music. We've done a really great job of building those programs. I'm a former band director. That's what I know how to do really, really well, right? But here's what we don't do well. We don't do well broadening that scope. We're trying to really work on making sure that we are able to relate to students where they're at, right? And to take their brilliant ideas as the next generation of innovators in the arts, right? So something that I noticed earlier about your performance when you were warming up there, I mean, first of all, what an incredible group of young people, and the music that you're making is just at this amazing level. But you're also having an opportunity to explore different facets of who you are musically, right? We're not saying you only have to look at classical music. I love classical music. I also love popular music. There was some rap in what you were doing. There was some great movement. There was some great choreography. There was a musical theater influence. And there's probably other ways that all of you are creative musically. So we're really working to try to prepare teachers to look at different ways of meeting kids where they're at their interests. You know, we look at this thing called culturally relevant or responsive or sustaining pedagogy. There's lots of different ways that we're looking at things, but the main thing is we need to do better at what you're talking about, and we're going to try. But I think probably some of you can also help in this next generation. How can we make sure that every kid feels that they can recognize their own brilliance, that they can pursue the things that the ideas that come to them in their minds, and they can take that somewhere. There's so much promise and possibility there. So we've got to do better in that, is what I would say.
I would add to that too, that some of what we do at the Marsal Family School of Education is we listen to students, right? We're studying in schools. I've worked with hundreds of Detroit high school and middle school students and elementary students as well. And I brought a couple of quotes, because I was thinking about what I've learned from students about what matters. There's a whole lot of things that matter, but one of the things that students said was that 75% of students said the most important thing in one of the arts programs that we did was working with successful Detroit-based African-American teaching artists. They said it was wonderful to see Black artists who were successful in their careers. It's important to be able to know that someone who came from the same beginnings as you was able to be successful. So I think that is about us listening to students and us recognizing all of the resources that exist in school districts and areas that might not be always recognized as important. And I think it is important to listen to students and, like Kate is sort of saying, use that as a way to help us grow and enable us to nurture you even more.
I think that's about all the time we have for questions. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your wonderful questions, and thank you to our panelists. Yeah, that was wonderful. I want to take this moment now to introduce our next speaker, who will sort of wrap up to today's event. Dr. John Ianian is the Alice B. Hamilton Distinguished University Professor of Medicine and Healthcare Policy. He's also the director of the Institute for Healthcare Policy and Innovation. He focuses his career on health policy, health services research related to access to care, quality of care, and healthcare disparities. He's served in many other health advisory positions, both at the state and the federal level. And I've asked Dr. Ianian to come and sort of tie together the many threads of conversations here today. So thank you for joining us. And maybe I'll take this opportunity to let the panelists step down, because I know, Mr. White, your group has more to come. All right, so thank you, everybody.
So thanks, Jeremy. And I have to give a brief disclaimer before I start. Sarah Reeves, Jeremy's colleague, a faculty member in the Cheer Center, in inviting me to speak and doing a background check for my closing remarks, failed to inquire about my singing history. And actually, as an elementary school student, she didn't pick up on the fact that my brother and I were actually kicked out of the church choir at ages 9 and 10 for being a little too rowdy. I wish that our choir director had the patience of Mr. White before tossing us from the choir. So since then, my singing career has been limited to the back of the church rather than the front. But it's really a pleasure and an honor to be here to give some closing remarks, summing up today's very rich discussion, Mr. White's inspiring keynote address, the thoughtful comments of our panelists. I want to take a moment just to reiterate Mr. VanBesien's tribute to Susan Meister as the guiding light for the Meister Cheer Center, such a strong supporter and advisor to the center over many years. The center has really become such an important part of the University of Michigan. I also want to thank Paul Meister for his support as well. I think the Cheer Center really embodies what's so great about the University of Michigan and the interdisciplinary work that we do here, really captured in today's discussion, bringing together faculty from 3 schools on campus, the School of Engineering, the College of Engineering, the School of Music, Theater, and Dance, and the School of Education, along with Michigan Medicine, to address such an important topic of the role of music in promoting children's health and really health across the life course. The Cheer Center is an important partner of the Institute for Healthcare Policy and Innovation, the organization that I lead on campus. It's become an even closer partnership over the past 2.5 years since the Cheer Center and IHPI have been co-located. We collaborate on a number of programs and research activities and training of postdoctoral scholars together. And I just want to really reflect on some of the important themes that have come out in today's discussion. For example, in Mr. White's keynote remarks, talking about the musical and mental exchange that comes together in the choir, the Detroit Youth Choir that he leads, and the partnerships and the mental health collaborations and the advancement of educational readiness and opportunities and community building. And I thought that was one of the important messages that came out from all of today's discussion was, for example, Dr. Grosh talking about the importance of creativity and teamwork and how that plays out not just in his field of engineering, but in music and sports and the role of creativity and teamwork in so much of what we do. And we see that in healthcare as well when we're developing new solutions to big problems. And I think bringing music therapy, as we heard in the discussion today, is a form of creativity and teamwork and how we try to solve patients' healthcare problems in new ways. We heard from Dr. Shaw about the importance of evidence and advocacy and funding to promote the role of music and the arts and improving the health and the development of children in our schools. We heard from Dr. Fitzpatrick about the disparities and the need for greater equity and access to arts education and music education and the quality of arts programs in public schools being such an important predictor of kids' development and their ability to have the benefits that music and arts provides as part of their education. So I think, we really kind of need to carry forward from a policy standpoint, which is such an important part of what the Cheer Center does, what IHPI does, and think about how do we advocate for some of the themes that we heard here today, whether that's through legislation, through local community organizing, for advocating for funding, and for developing the evidence base for the kind of programs that we heard about here today, whether those are programs in clinical settings like the music therapy that's offered here at Michigan Medicine, and advocating for that to be disseminated more widely in other healthcare settings, whether it's for the musical programs in school districts, public schools around the country, and here in Michigan, to be sure they're available to kids across zip codes. We know how much health outcomes differ by zip code, and we know educational outcomes differ by zip code. So it's important to try and promote greater equity, especially at a time when equity is under threat in our country, to ensure that these programs, the strength of the music programs that we heard about here today, are available to kids of all backgrounds. So, so those, I think, are some of the themes that we need to take out of today's event and carry forward. And I think Jeremy's going to be introducing a transition to probably what will be the most fun part of today's gathering. So, Jeremy, I'll turn the mic back to you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. That was a perfect way to wrap up everything and summarize. So this concludes this portion of tonight's event. Now, there's going to be a little short video to play while we're exiting. So if everybody exits the room on the way out to the lobby, the Detroit Youth Choir is going to put on a performance for us.
My name is Anthony White, the director of the Detroit Youth Choir.
Oh, the Detroit Youth Choir. Oh my goodness. You're back.
DYC.
Okay, Mr. White, tell us all about you and what happened during the show, after the show, please.
Well, of course, we're the Detroit Youth Choir, and we were here season 14 of AGT. It came by way of a parent. One of our parents, she was like, Mr. White, have you ever thought about, being on a show? I said, nah, we're not that type of choir. Go somewhere else with that. Maybe a different choir. But we gave it a shot. And I remember getting that email saying, congratulations, you guys have made it to LA, and the kids were hysterical. They were jumping up and down, crying, things like that. And we made it all the way to second place. So we took that and harnessed it and became successful when we got back home. And our mission is to implant the arts in our young people. Even though those that don't have a love for it yet, we put it in their minds and in their bodies so they can carry the tradition of those that came before them.
A long 7 years ago, I seen a flyer around my local church. I go to Fellowship Chapel. And it was an audition flyer back in 2016 where we had to come to this church called Victory Church, which is where we did start out of, Victory Church's basement. I came, I auditioned, and I got accepted on the spot.
Well, the Detroit Youth Choir came out of a choir named the Detroit Children's Concert Choir. We called it DC3, and DC3 was the birth of DYC.
Well, to be a part of choir, it feels like you have a second home. Like you have somewhere to call home. You have a family.
We are truly a family. We travel together, we eat together, we tour together, we perform together, we sweat together.
When you're a part of the choir, you do kind of join a legacy, I believe. DYC does have a good legacy of producing great children and things like that. Children who do become something in their career paths and even perform the performance arts for the rest of their lives.
Like you, the Detroit Youth Choir knows what it means to work hard and achieve all your dreams. Thank you for letting us be a part of your celebration, and congratulations on all your success. Last but not least, here's the Detroit Youth Choir.